Part 2, The Evolving Psychiatrist, Going on an Unexpected Journey. Throughout my life, I had unsuccessfully defended my need to live life as a writer. Instead, I had been battered into losing my capacity for deep feeling, dissuaded from following where my feelings led me, and had left the writer's path, as Booner had cautioned writers not to do. My choices led me down a path that felt very wrong for me, but there were no words to describe the depth of my feelings. I only knew that no amount of money or security could ever be enough to make me accept a path that lacked both creativity and authenticity. No amount of success justified robbing me of the life I was called to live. With my training psychiatrist's decision to put me on Zoloft, even my feelings were erased, and the path became invisible even to myself without my feelings to guide me. For 5 years, they were shackled and pushed into a closet with Zoloft. But as soon as I stopped taking it, the realization that my life was not worth living sprang out with monstrous ferocity, overwhelming me once again with its urgent message. You cannot live this way. But I could not die this way either. People depended on me. Specifically, my children depended on me. I had to find a way out of my hole of depression and dependency. I hated the label and the medication. I hated having to go to the pharmacy each month to get my prescription refilled. I hated what psychiatry had turned me into, someone who needed treatment in order to remain well. I had prescribed countless times before, imagining myself to be a beneficent heroine coming to the rescue, without realizing how a patient might feel about taking my prescription. Now I knew. The experience filled me with shame as I shouldered the stigma of mental illness. I hated being a patient, without asking for my permission or warning me of impending doom. Psychiatry had redefined and confined me, but not anymore. I wanted my freedom back. I might be Chinese and female. I might even be quiet, unobtrusive, and disciplined. But beneath my calm facade, I was passionate, feisty, and intense. I might not always win when I fight, but I will fight even if I don't win. My battle for a way out of my predicament began with a Google search for natural alternatives to Zoloft. I began taking St. John's wort and ginkgo biloba. I soon discovered that brands mattered. The new bottle with the purple tablets of St. John's wort didn't have the same effect on my mood as the old bottle that cost a bit more with the green tablets of St. John's wort. I refused to take Zoloft once I realized that it had created a physical dependency. I'd rather be depressed than dependent. I never smoked, never drank alcohol or coffee. I sure as heck didn't want to be a Zoloft addict. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know how to get off Zoloft safely or comfortably. For years, I felt about 80% of my normal self after stopping Zoloft, with or without the St. John's wort, but I refused to take any more medication. My moods worsened a week before my period. On Sunday afternoons, I napped for hours. When I went to eat at a buffet, I could eat 3 plates piled with food before feeling full. These signs of a metabolic imbalance inform me now, as a holistic psychiatrist, that I needed nutritional support, but I didn't know it at the time. The support I needed began around 2001 when my husband, a doctor, became interested in nutritional supplements. Because I had gestational diabetes and needed a long nap after Sunday lunch, he felt that I might benefit from some nutritional supplements to help regulate my blood sugar. I told him that I ate plenty of food and didn't need to take more supplements, but he persisted and eventually persuaded me to take them. Within a few weeks, I no longer needed to take naps on Sunday, and even when I wanted my money's worth at buffets, I felt full after just 1 plate of food. I had to admit that the supplements were working great. In 2002, a patient with depression shared that she heard of a supplement called EM Power that might help her daughter with bipolar disorder. Since I already had positive experiences with taking a supplement for stabilizing my blood sugar and had used St. John's wort and ginkgo biloba to get off Zoloft, I was more open to the possibility that nutritional supplements might help my psychiatric bipolar patients. At that time, my practice had many bipolar patients who were not doing well on their psychiatric medications. I was getting bipolar patients so often that I couldn't keep referring them to the special bipolar treatment center at Johns Hopkins anymore, or I might end up with no patients in my practice. To be frank, psychiatry does not have a good solution for treating bipolar patients. In my experience, the antidepressants made them more vulnerable to mania, and their, quote, mood stabilizers, unquote, made them more vulnerable to depression. They would experience severe side effects from their medications, which just added salt to already deep wounds. Nonetheless, it took 3 months before I finally called the company to ask them about Empower. The company had a system where they would pair a physician with an assistant to help the doctor learn how to use their supplement, and if needed, teach the doctor how to taper the patient's medications. I worked with one patient at a time and offered to see them twice per week at a discounted fee so that I could monitor their progress carefully. To my astonishment, they felt much better on the supplement and were able to taper off their medications. After they tapered off their medications, they seemed to do well for a few months. Then they encountered what the company called, quote, protracted withdrawal, unquote. The patients would struggle with withdrawal side effects, which the supplement company blamed on the medication. I noticed that the group of patients who started taking the supplement without ever starting a medication simply got better, and within a few months had to lower their supplements or their old symptoms would return again. It took many years before I learned how to handle the complexities of medication withdrawal, but my initial positive clinical outcomes convinced me that nutritional supplements could heal mental illness. I just needed more empirical experience and knowledge. Soon after I began using Empower, I decided to take the supplement myself. After all, it was a multivitamin, and I had already had a positive effect from using a supplement. I began with the dosages that patients were asked to take at the time, and felt my well-being reach 100% of my optimal state of being within just a few days. But after a couple of weeks, I felt too alert to go to sleep. It was as if my body had too much energy. So I lowered the dosage and restored my body back to a better state of balance. Since that time, I have used many different supplements from many different companies. I have also experienced various stressors, such as the peer review process, a divorce, moves, money issues, and raising 2 kids. But I never experienced depression again. Sure, I felt sad, mad, or frustrated at times, but my emotions were normal reactions to life's challenges. Don't tell me that supplements can't heal depression. I know better.